Welcome to another episode of Trouble to Transformation. Today's guest, I have Katie Grimes. Katie is a business coach and host of Anything for Love podcast. Katie focuses on helping people turn their passions into thriving businesses. She combines her expertise in personal development and entrepreneurship to guide her clients in achieving success in both their professional and personal lives. Katie is also known for her engaging Instagram presence, where she shares insights on topics like love, dating, relationships, business, and personal growth. So, welcome, Katie. I'm so excited to have you on today. We have a lot of history. We go back a little ways.
We go way back.
Yeah. And just with the nature of my content, I just want to put a little disclaimer out there that Katie's never been incarcerated or arrested.
No, I have
Yeah.
not. I have
Yeah.
not. Knock on. It's like I've
Yeah.
never broken a bone, and those two
Yeah.
things have never happened either.
Yeah. But where did it all start for you? Where did your journey start?
Well, I think in terms of business coaching, and starting the business, I actually was in a toxic relationship with someone who was suffering from addiction and was suffering from narcissism about 15 years ago. He
Mm,
didn't know that he was suffering from either. Um, but it was one of those toxic love stories where, guy meets girl, they fall in love, they have this incredible relationship, and the good times are great, but the bad times are really bad.
mm,
And riding that wave of sort of codependency and, I'll pick him up at the bar, chasing him, calling him, like the whole nine.
mhm,
It was one of those times where I thought I had met my soulmate, somebody that I thought could see myself marrying, um and I don't use that word narcissism lightly. I know that's being thrown a lot around a lot, but
yes.
there's actually there is proof that that is in fact true from a doctor. So I
Mhm,
say all that because he really was a soulmate in the sense that he was a direct reflection of what I needed to see about myself that needed to
mm,
change.
yep.
I didn't realize that my relationship with my mom, who has suffered from alcoholism most of my life, the effects of that, the not learning how to trust yourself, a fear of abandonment, fear of not being good enough, trying
Mhm,
harder, feel like you're being too much or not enough,
right.
like just all these emotions that literally come
Mm,
up for my clients as well as myself in
yep.
business coaching. But I think it evolved into me going into 12-step recovery, a group called Al-Anon, to really
Mhm,
understand my part in learning the addiction and also my part in fueling my own addiction, which was being
mm.
addicted to chaotic relationships and unhealthy
Ah,
relationships.
yes. Yeah, that is a
Um,
thing.
oh, it's a thing. And
Mhm.
never in a million years would I think that I would be addicted to chaotic relationships. I think we both know, like, oh, it's so unhealthy, it's so
Yeah,
unattractive. But man, oh man, when you're in it, it makes you feel like, can I swear on here?
absolutely.
I was gonna say, I feel like I can swear on here. It
Yeah.
makes you feel like you're fucking crazy because you are
Yes.
just like, like I said, it was everything from you said you were going to do this. How come you're not going to do this? And then the emotional abuse of, things
Mhm,
like, I said I wanted to have a kid with you, but not the way you're acting now. Things like that that
yeah.
you just don't realize are like zingers and that are really chipping away and the fighting dirty, the stuff that you
Mm,
tell someone in private to then have it come back and be used against you when you guys are disagreeing. And there was just this repetitive pattern. And I say all that
mhm,
because it's ultimately what led me to getting help in Al-Anon,
mm.
understanding my
Yep,
addiction to unhealthy relationships, understanding
yep.
addiction in general, seeing the correlation between how I grew up with my mom and my dad being avoidant, my mom being very anxious,
Mhm,
and that dynamic, and then being divorced and having that first core memory be that of abandonment. And I say all
mhm,
that because I think it makes sense why I started to go, whether it be college or jobs out of college, where I was involved in either unhealthy relationship dynamics at work
mhm,
or within like my friend group and family and stuff like that, which then led me to, go into jobs where I was kind of
mhm,
chasing the next job. I became addicted to like,
mm.
hey, how can I find the next best thing? Is it more? And I would always be chasing more money.
Yep.
But what I found was through that kind of chaotic, uncertain time frame of kind of early 20s, early into 30s,
Mhm,
I didn't realize that it was actually leading me to exactly where I am right now. So I kind of wish like God gave me a
Mm.
heads up and was like, just so you're aware, your 20s and 30s are going to be fucking disaster.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
when you get to be like
Mm-hmm.
30, I think I'm 6 years in now. So like in your late 30s, everything's
Mm-hmm.
going to kind of smooth out. But then you're going to go through another deep healing journey, you know? And it's like, if you could
Yes.
just, but what I wish I knew then what I know now. But in reality, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, working for private companies, working for public companies, working for small,
Mm-hmm.
medium, large companies, working for
Yeah.
toxic bosses, working for incredible people. Like
Mm-hmm.
all that mix allowed me to see that the dysfunction in which I grew up in, which is being the fixer, the problem solver,
Mm. Yes.
allowed me to do that in my corporate career, but not really flourish because people
Mm-hmm.
don't like being told what to do, to then being able to start a wellness group within my commercial real estate job that I had
Mm-hmm.
that took off. It was a sober event because I decided to get
Mm-hmm.
sober,
Right.
and started a networking group for women that then became co-ed, to then
Yeah.
getting fired from being a victim of a crime, which was unrelated to three deaths that happened in my family at that time. So there was
Mm-hmm.
just a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
Got let go. The day I got let go, I said, fuck it. I have two choices. I can either go back
Mm-hmm.
to corporate and hustle and grind and not put my recovery first,
Mm.
or I can start my own thing. I got 20 grand in the bank, which I didn't even, that was like, I have 20 grand in the bank. Like I had no
Mm-hmm.
concept of my money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to then starting this and saying, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but let me go start to talk to people who I think kind of know what they're doing, and then let people know
Mm-hmm.
that I'm doing this and I don't really know what to call myself, but hey,
Mm-hmm.
if you can hire me where we can talk and have a conversation, it's coaching. I didn't realize it at the time. So I
Yeah.
started coaching people who were figuring out if they were going to stay or go from their jobs, which then
Mm-hmm.
translated into relationship with other, which made me
Mm-hmm.
realize that I had been hiding my own addiction, which was that of sex and love addiction and
Mm-hmm.
codependency. So when I was asked, what do you want to be known for? I was like, I really want to be known for my work in sex and love recovery and addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And um, that became this journey of relationship coaching, but it was the relationship to self and taking a break from dating to focus on ourselves and find our passion and purpose, to then meeting people like yourself, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
we go into like starting the career and, hey, I found my purpose through the shit I've been through, and how
Mm-hmm.
can you tell me what to do? And for me, I was like, oh yeah, that was 6 years in the making of having no fucking clue that income, yes, does go up and down. Yes, I'm going to wonder what people think of me. Yes, I'm going to have
Mm-hmm.
a sadness that happens when clients decide that they don't want to continue, right? Like it's like these
Yeah.
little things that
Mm-hmm.
ultimately I said to myself, I'd love to be able to share this journey with someone who's wanting to
Mm-hmm.
start and grow a business so that they can skip a lot of steps that I did, save a lot of time, save a ton
Mm.
of money.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to reach people internationally. So the best way to do that is through coaching as well as through the podcast and
Yeah.
Instagram, of course. But that's it in
Yeah.
a 7-minute nutshell.
No, that was fantastic. Yes, and thank you for sharing that. And I feel like we have to go through those challenges and those struggles in life in order to be the coach, the leader, the mentor. Otherwise, how would we know? And
Yeah,
you're
we
an
wouldn't.
incredible coach, by the way, because I've learned
Oh,
so much from you, even with building my own brand and business. And it's interesting. I just want to share with the viewers too that a while ago I signed up for Katie's love, dating, and relationship course.
yeah.
And at the time, I kind of argued, or not argued, but I just sort of I was very resistant because I'm like, come on, Katie, I'm not even dating. Why? I don't need
Yeah.
a love, dating, relationship course.
I remember that.
And yeah, and you're like, Rhonda, you're taking that same energy into your business. And then I was like,
Mm,
oh, damn. Lack of
mm.
boundaries, no non negotiables. People were late with deadlines. I lost a lot of money. And because of that course, actually, I learned so much about my personal
Oh, that
limitations. Yeah.
that like makes me tear up. That makes me happy
Mm-hmm.
because I was
Mm-hmm.
asked recently, what is the thing I'm most proud of in
Mm-hmm.
my business? And I said it's the way that I have been able to make people feel and
Yes.
help them have those aha moments, and then to feel so confident being able to run their business or their
Mm-hmm.
life with better boundaries, with speaking up for themselves. So
Yeah.
you're validating that for me, and also
Mm-hmm.
helping me to live my purpose by saying that, because as much as we don't want other people's opinions of us to
Mm-hmm.
validate us, it is really something very special that you just said. So thank you for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. No, and you deserve that, right? Because I think there's a big piece in all of us that want, approval, acceptance, and
Hmm.
significance. Like we all want to make a mark in this world, and I think it is very important. So, you
Yeah.
know, and I think that with our past experiences too, like I loved what you said about I just wish God would have warned me, you know, but
Right?
but
Just a little
would you
heads up.
change a thing? But would you change a thing?
Yeah. Looking
Yeah.
back, no, because I think
Yeah.
every person I met, every interaction I had,
Mhm.
every heartbreak, every whether that be a friendship or romantic
Yeah.
relationship, it all led me to where I am right now, which is I've set a new standard for who gets to be in my
Mhm.
life. I
Yep.
whom I call a friend, that circle's
Mhm.
very small now. Like I don't just throw that word around.
Yes.
There
Yep.
are acquaintances and then
Mhm.
there are friends.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't think I would. Would you? Would you change anything?
You know what? There was so many times in my life where I thought, "Oh, the shoulda, coulda, would've." But now I have fully embraced my story, all the ugly parts, because
Yeah.
that's who I am today. And that's what makes me the counselor, mentor, or podcast host as well, right? Because look
Yeah.
at most of my guests. Most of my guests have all been in former incarcerated. That's why I had to put out that little disclaimer.
Oh yeah, you're like disclaimer. My girl hasn't been
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. But so
Yeah.
so your content emphasizes a lot on business development and
Hmm.
also personal development and business success. How do you balance between those two?
Yeah. When you ask how do I balance between the two, is it through sharing it on Instagram that you want to know, or is it more just in my personal life?
Well, both. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I think it starts with me, right? So it's
Mhm.
me feeling into what do I want to do every day. And I say that in the lens of this morning I scheduled a workout. I woke up, I did not feel great. It
Mhm.
required me to go back to bed. I realized when I went back to bed, I was actually anxious. So moving my body was actually going to be the best
Mm.
answer. So while I missed
Yes.
the workout, I then was like, yeah, but are you hungry? Yep, I'm hungry, but I don't want a meal. Okay, well then let's do bone broth. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's like I now feel into what is best for me as it
Mhm.
relates to both my personal well-being as well as the success of the business. So the next thing I did once I
Mhm.
kind of got a little bit of momentum, I went to my to-do list, checked in with my business manager, said these are the things that I think I got to do. Do you need
Mhm.
anything else to be done? Um, and granted, I own it, but I like to
Mhm.
just check in because she sometimes is waiting for me for stuff. And that's a very different mentality than when I was in corporate, which was
Mhm.
you wake up at 5, I get a workout in, shower, change. I'm eating like 3 breakfasts by the time it's even 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
I'm working, 8 to 6, being paid for, 9 to 5. It's just a hustle grind mentality then. And I
Mhm.
think what I found was I was not successful in doing that. I would go
Right.
to the doctor crying and saying, how come I can't work a 12-hour work
Mhm.
day, and
Mhm.
yet I have a friend whose makeup is not even or hair out of place at the end of that day,
Mm.
and I look
Yeah.
like an absolute savage. So I'm like, she said to me, she's like, we were not meant to work that much. And so
Mm.
for you, you have a lot of energy to expand and you got to conserve it. So you got to be
Right.
careful who you're spending your time with. You got to be
Mhm.
careful, how much water you're drinking, things that can help
Mhm.
fuel you. So I think for me, I look at my own well-being as kind of four categories. So
Ah.
emotional and mental are one for me.
Mhm.
Physical, financial, spiritual. Every day
Ah.
I'm trying to cover those four. So what do I mean by
Mhm.
that? So emotional and mental. The stuff I just said. How am I feeling? Where am I feeling it in the body? Asking myself questions. Do you want eggs for breakfast or do you want bone broth? I want bone broth. Like
Mhm.
it's nurturing those little parts of me that didn't get that love, acceptance, attention that was required. Thankfully, through
Mhm.
my deep healing work, I now know that.
Mhm.
Physically, I'm not shaming and blaming myself for not having a workout. Instead, I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
I'm listening to my body. My body
Yeah.
does not want to push it that hard today. There's something going on, so
Ah.
I'm just going to honor that instead of shaming myself.
Yeah.
But you know what I did today? Threw the laundry in,
Mhm.
came, did a podcast, walked over to the laundromat, switched it out, walked back. I'm on here
Mhm.
with you. It's like getting that
Mm.
little movement in can be so
Yeah.
meaningful. And then financial, right? It's anything from dropping a bunch of shit in the Amazon cart and just saying I'm going to leave it there
Mm.
and let it marinate. And then when I
Ah,
then
yes.
go to sit, like buy it, I'm like, okay, do I have the money in the account? Do I need to wait?
Mm-hmm.
But also sitting down once a week and looking at my finances. How much money's coming
Mm-hmm.
in? How much can I predict that's going out?
Yep.
Um, and where do I need to be saving and or putting money towards a future expense?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been really meaningful. And then also with financial, expressing gratitude every time I'm swiping my card, just
Ooh,
like,
good
oh,
one.
thanks for filling up the gas tank or whatever the case may be, because
Mm-hmm.
money likes more of it. Money likes to come into
Yep.
your life when you're more grateful for it. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then the last part is the spirituality. I think
Yep.
for me, it's every day connecting with a higher power, regardless of who you believe in or what you believe in. It's a way for me to connect to myself and just say, okay, what do I need? And the last part I'll say about it is I've started doing a Dear God letter sometimes at night, not
Mm.
every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a anything from a here's what I'm grateful for to hey, here's some shit I'd love to manifest and visualize,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also kind of annoyed at you that you haven't brought it around. So like,
Yep.
what do I need to know? What lessons need to be there for me and to
Mm-hmm.
make that happen? And is this the right thing to happen? And it's
Yep.
wild how within days, if not weeks, the stuff that I prayed for is coming to fruition. And so
Yes.
I think the biggest thing is I've realized that my success in business comes from the four categories I just mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
and that every day I'm doing at least one thing off of that list, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be like, I need to have my gratitude practice. I need to have this every day.
Yep.
It's more, what do I want to feel into and what would make me
Mm-hmm.
feel good?
Yeah, that's excellent. I love that. I have some of the same practices as well. Now, with
Yeah.
like some of your coaching clients, is that some of the strategies you also encourage them to lean into?
Yeah, and that kind of
Mm-hmm.
goes back to your original question about like Instagram and stuff too. I mean,
Yeah.
what I'm putting on Instagram for content is essentially what I'm teaching in private coaching and or hearing from
Mm-hmm.
clients.
Right.
And so that's anything from, hey, I am people pleasing, my
Mm-hmm.
boundaries are shit right now. I'm
Yeah.
not creating a great workout routine. I'm eating too much takeout. I'm not spending enough time with my family. And it's like, I like to share that that's what's happening without breaking my client's anonymity, but then
Mm-hmm.
also saying, here's what I'm doing on the back end to help coach this person through it and or
Mm-hmm.
myself, because everything that I coach, I've been through for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, to your point, like all my clients are going through that. And so the
Yeah.
thing that I start with on the very first day of session is asking the question, what's your sleep like?
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
what are you offering people so that they can buy from you? If we can
Yes.
start there and I can get you sleeping for 4 days down, like real good,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to regulate your nervous system enough where we can fire away and go. But if
Mm-hmm.
your health is being jeopardized at all, it's going to be very difficult to kind of have the success that you want.
Yeah, excellent. Now, here's a question too about like the personal development and the business success. I would imagine that you come across clients that have, a big idea in order to start a business, but then maybe at home the relationship is toxic. So, do you
Mm.
kind of feel like you go into some relationship coaching along with the business coaching? Yeah.
1000%. I won't name
Yeah.
the client, but I had a client come to me recently, about 7 months ago, and
Mm-hmm.
just all gung ho, gotta grow
Mm-hmm.
this business. We had our
Yeah.
focus, we knew we were going. And I want to say week 2, her husband cheated on her. And by week 6, she realized he
Oh.
had a mistress, and the mistress was pregnant.
Oh,
And I said to her,
dear
I go,
God.
I got good news and I got good news. She goes,
Oh.
what's, I would take any good news right now. I said, well, the good news is you're in coaching. So you
Mm-hmm.
get to do this differently. You get to have different
Yes.
reactions and responses to how you normally would. One of her
Yep.
things was she doesn't eat. And it's not that she doesn't want to, it's because she doesn't have the stomach to eat. She's just not hungry.
Mm.
But I said, the other good news is that I used to be a relationship coach. So I
Mm.
can help you work through
Yep.
the toxicity that is coming up, because I
Yep.
bet you, and I said something to the effect of, I bet you your family's slamming him, probably wanting to talk about it all the
Mm.
time.
Yeah.
She was like, that's exactly what they're doing. I was like, cool. How do you feel about setting a boundary today with everybody that says, pump the brakes? If I don't text me, I will
Mm-hmm.
text you about him,
Yep.
you know and she at the end of her coaching, she was like, damn, I thought it was going to be business coaching, and it was, don't get me wrong, a moment
Yes.
here and there, but it was mostly about grieving the loss of the life that she thought she had,
Yeah.
while also creating a brand new one that's like actually
Hmm.
even better than what she had before,
Yeah.
and just helping her navigate that. And she said at the end, she was like, I am just so grateful that you came in when you did and like helped me navigate
Yes.
this grief, because man, oh man, it was heavy, So
Yeah. And
yeah,
where
I
where is
run
she
into it.
now? Is she doing really well now after like
She is,
yeah,
yeah.
oh
She
good.
signed
Yeah.
papers.
Hmm.
Emotionally, she's in a great spot. She did a
Yeah.
huge brand deal with a big company,
Wow.
and was able to make sure that that kicked off as soon as the papers were signed. It was like, boom, we're
Excellent.
announcing it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just
Yeah.
really cool to see her. She's
Hmm.
in a healthy relationship now.
Hmm.
And so it was just really cool. And a lot of what I shared with her is, I said, one of the things I want you to be mindful of is in this next relationship, the codependency. Like,
Yes.
you're grieving, and her boyfriend had been through some shit as well. So I said, we got to be real gentle. So I taught her about feminine, masculine energy, taught her about
Ah,
how to
yes.
communicate with men better,
Hmm.
and how to give him space so he can talk and feel his feelings, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. So she's doing well.
Excellent. Yeah, that's excellent.
Yeah.
And like even just some of our conversations in the past, and I think we mentioned it on the podcast where I came on your podcast,
Yeah.
and we were talking
Hmm.
about like the 90-day dating plan.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, I still
I'm in the
use that. I use
I'm in
that
the
with
thick
some
of
of
it
my
now.
clients.
Yeah, do you? Oh,
Yeah.
I love
Oh,
that.
100%, because a lot of the dysfunction is in the relationship. And especially when people are in recovery, their next addiction is, like you said, that love and sex addiction. I need validation. Love me, please love me.
Touch
And
me. Anything.
yeah,
Tell
and
me I'm pretty.
exactly. And then it's just another roller coaster into the dumpster fire again. And so we're always in these repeat patterns. But I just kind of wanted to mention that 90-day dating plan. I had a client say to me, well, that's absurd. Like, no holding hands, no intimacy, no kissing, no staying overnight in 90 days. Like, she basically said, that is absurd.
Mm.
So, remember how we broke it down into the hours?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I actually still use that in my own
Yeah.
life. I
Yeah.
want to clarify just one point. For me, it's not about, in my 90-day plan, and everybody's plan can be different.
Hmm.
I very much am affectionate. So I like to hold hands. There can
Yeah.
be kissing, but like the makeouts aren't coming for a couple of dates in, like
Yeah.
stuff like that. So when you said
Yeah.
hold hands, I was like, oh, wait, that's not a part of my dating plan, but it could be for someone
Yeah.
else. But I would love for you to explain the breakdown of the minutes in which you know someone, because
Hmm.
last summer, I was ending this relationship was coming to an end. I was just
Yeah.
really frustrated with it, and he was too. And so, and when I broke down the hours in which I really knew him and had spent time with him, I was able to
Hmm.
say, we've texted for, you know, 8 weeks, but we've spent 6 hours together. That's not a lot of time to
Yeah.
build a
Yeah.
healthy relationship,
No.
like, so I thought I always use it now, thanks to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Cause, I've, when I was in the dating pool, I mean, I would text and call, like even phone calls. And I would
Yep.
do this for like a couple of months before I would actually invest my time and resources in flying even somewhere to meet somebody.
Mm,
And then as soon as I was in their bubble, I'm like, nope.
yeah.
Like if there was an energy, it was yeah, it just wasn't in alignment. I could really feel it. But for this client, just with the frequency of how much time they spent together over a period of 90 days, I think it would have been 6 waking days that they would have actually known each
Over
other.
90 days.
Yeah, over
Yeah,
90
that's not a
days.
lot of time.
Because everybody's like Monday to Friday, Fridays, go Friday evening, Saturday, and then Sunday you're off back to home or something. So, and
Mm,
I look and I asked her, I'm like, is that enough time to actually give somebody the key to your apartment or, you know?
such a good fucking point.
Oi.
Because we're so quick to do it.
So quick. And then she ended up going on a road trip with him and did like an overnight weekend trip. And it was a disaster.
Oh, poor thing.
Yeah, like he abandoned her. Like, yeah,
Oh,
yeah, because,
get
yeah, it was terrible. I won't mention too many details,
yeah,
but
but you get to see the person for who they truly are. And I
yeah.
think that was the biggest when I was doing the dating coaching, the
Hmm.
biggest recovery piece for me was those 90 days are crucial.
Yes.
So I actually started ruling people out very quickly by being
Hmm.
like, so I'm not going to sleep with you within the 3 months of knowing you. And that I can't even say that I would actually sleep with you in 3 months.
Hmm.
And you could very quickly figure out who's there for the right reasons. Now,
Yes.
I'm an incredibly sexual person.
Hmm.
Sex is very important to me.
Hmm.
But I found that every time that I would just jump into bed with somebody in any way, shape, or form, that
Hmm.
it was also a disaster. And I would also feel abandoned the next
Yeah.
day because I didn't really know them. And
Yes.
so there was too much uncertainty.
Yeah.
So this time around, I think what I found was this is the first time that I've actually stuck to my 90-day
Mm.
protocol and
Hmm.
routine. Like
Yeah.
one of them is, for example, uh, the first 5 dates have to be out of the house, but
Ah.
dates six
Yeah.
and after, there can be some dates in the house, but
Hmm.
it has to be mixed for me.
Yeah.
Like it can't be like we're at the house now for 6, 7, and 8 dates. Like that's a big one. And so
Hmm.
that's something that I'm recently doing with this weekend, actually. It's our sixth date.
Mm.
So it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we're gonna go make food at the house. And um, yeah, it's been incredible to see this person bring his own dating plan up to me and saying,
Oh,
hey,
interesting.
I'm not willing to be
Hmm.
intimate with you because, and he goes, don't mistake it as a good thing. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want to be intimate with you because I actually want to to know you. And I'm like, I feel like you've listened to my dating coaching, have you? Because this is exactly what I preach, but also what I've
Yeah.
really struggled with as
Hmm.
well.
Yes. Yes. And I find too that when we're on this road of like launching a business and all of the things, and I'm kind of speaking more on the people who are single or
Mhm.
actively dating, I really feel like there's a lot of attention units that are spent
Mm.
in areas like, because of those physiological chemical bombs that are happening within our bodies, the honeymoon stages. Like, we will literally abandon everything that we're working on for our own personal success
Yeah.
into molding our life into this individual that we've known less than 90 days.
So well said. And I was you as you were saying that, I was also thinking about how the first 90 days of business, I actually also did that. Meaning
Ooh.
like the first 90 days of my business, which was
Mm-hmm.
probably longer,
Mm-hmm.
I abandoned working out. I abandoned meditation. I abandoned
Mm.
um a lot of my self-care in
Mm-hmm.
order to allow all the creativity to come forward. But I was working on everything and not just something. And so it's going through that journey. It's why when people come
Mm-hmm.
in for those first 90 days, I explain, like, okay, here's exactly what we're going to do, but also you're going to do all these things in terms of your like
Mm-hmm.
personal health and well-being. Because you're right,
Yes.
in in a romantic relationship, that
Mm-hmm.
dopamine and is it oxytocin, both are
Mm-hmm.
just cruising. Like I was
Yeah.
following a dating coach and he was like,
Mm-hmm.
you have so much of those hormones, like, or excuse me, chemicals, like
Mm-hmm.
raging in your body.
Yeah.
You should be making no decisions about anything because
Yeah.
they're so high, except
Yeah.
for let me get grounded, let me
Mm-hmm.
lower it and make
Yeah.
decisions from there. And I've
Mm-hmm.
applied the same thing in my own business. It's like when
Yeah.
I feel the hit of, oh, that's a great idea. I'm like, well, don't go build the sales page. Just let's like
Just wait. Yeah.
let it marinate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so true. And I always compare it to like that snow globe. You shake up the snow globe, and you got to let those particles settle until we can kind of see through the glass.
It's so
It's,
true. And that's
yeah.
why, like you said, the importance of
Hmm.
actually getting to know someone.
Yeah.
Something that might be helpful for the audience that's like listening.
Hmm.
So for the person who's listening, it's like for me, I find that I am doing a FaceTime date. As soon as I match someone,
Hmm.
my initial message is, hi, whatever their name is. And then I'm like, I'm so excited that we matched. I don't know about you, but I find it really hard to get to know someone on this app. Would you
Hmm.
want to do a FaceTime? You will get rid of the catfish real quick because they're not going to FaceTime you.
Yes. So true.
You will get the guys who are or women who are in it and ready
Hmm.
are like, oh, I'm down, let's do this. And you'll see the flaky people as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times doing a FaceTime has saved me. I know that attraction is not everything, but it sure is something at the beginning. And your
Yeah.
people's personality can make them ugly, but also some people were not born with great looks. And so it like gave me the
Yeah.
ability to be like, do I feel physically attracted to this person? And do I feel
Hmm.
that an emotional connection can be built?
Yeah.
And many people did not make the second cut. Such
Interesting.
a time saver.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. And even with the 90-day dating plan, too, when you actually set those boundaries and say, hey, listen, this weekend I'm spending it with my family or my girlfriends or whatever, you will see somebody's attachment styles come out real fast. Well, what do you mean?
Yeah.
You don't want to spend time with me?
Right.
Yeah.
Or you'll see somebody who is can't stop texting and calling you all the time, and the
Mm.
double calls, right? Like they
Yeah.
call and you don't answer and then they call again and you're like, is there now an emergency? It's like you get to see
Mm.
that attachment style as well, and if it's an
Yeah.
attractive for you. Or I
Yeah.
remember I set a boundary recently with someone I was also getting to know, and I said, "Hey, I know you're sexting." And he was being flirtatious and it was moving
Hmm.
towards sexting. And I said, "But on my dating plan, right, for this is what it is now because it happened before, is I'm
Yeah.
like, hey, I would love the chance to get to know you without all this, but it is a big part of my personality, so I'm not knocking
Hmm.
it. I'm just saying that
Hmm.
I would love to do this later." And he was like, of course, like whatever you need, I want to go at your pace. And then he did it again and again and
Ah.
again. And by that, like, truth be told, I knew
Mm,
kind of third time around, I was like, all right,
mm,
like
yeah.
you're trying to push my boundaries. And so at that point, I actually, my phone call to him was, hi. So I got another morning text from you when I've asked you not to do this. And
Hmm.
I think it's a no for me. So I wish you the best, like, and
Wow,
in
that's
that tone,
incredible.
just
Hmm.
doing a voice memo, like in that
Yeah,
tone, like, I wish you the
yeah,
best, but it's
yeah.
not for me.
I love that. Because sexting, yeah, like if somebody is just really open to doing that type of behavior so early in the game, kind of makes you wonder, like what's happening behind closed doors.
Exactly. It's
Hmm.
kind of like you know how when we were younger, like guys would be like, well, my girlfriends would say this, he's
Hmm.
so quick to go down on me. Who's he
Hmm.
doing this with? And it's a double-edged sword. We would do it
Yeah.
with guys as well. Like if
Hmm.
he's so quick to do this in the first time meeting me and doesn't know me,
Hmm.
like, and so I think I feel the same way about sexting
Yeah.
is, and I also found that people were using it as a way to feel better about themselves because there was
Hmm.
something going on in their life, and they weren't using it to actually have real true connection and
Yeah.
authentic conversations. And
Hmm.
I remember that somebody I had a crush on reached out to me on Instagram, and he was started to flirt, and I knew he had had a girlfriend because I met her this summer. So I texted him
Mm.
back and I said, "Are I just want to be very clear. Are you single?" And he went, "Yes." And I went, "Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but also sorry, not sorry." Like,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
joking. And he continued to flirt a little bit. And then I called him on it and I was like, let me just pause again. I got the impression you were not interested in getting to know me. So what's
Hmm.
changed? You
Right.
know what? You're right. My bad. I'm sorry. I'm going through a hard time. Here's what I'm going through. Okay, thanks
Ah.
for letting me know.
Yeah.
And also, don't do it again.
Yeah.
That's
Looking for
literally like what is.
validation.
Yeah, I was like, don't do it again.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my
Hmm.
God, the old Katie would have wasted so much time wondering, like, does he like me? Oh my gosh, he's coming back around. The fantasy of
Yeah.
what it was. And in reality, I
Yeah.
was like, oh, it was not anything more than him just trying to feel better about himself.
Hmm.
And I would have wasted so much time and so much energy. But then on top of it, I noticed when you sext and you don't actually hang out, you build up a fantasy of who you think this person is versus the reality. So once you get
Mm,
there,
good
you're like,
one.
oh, this isn't really exactly how I thought they were going to touch me or hug
Yeah.
me or whatever, or even just how they are. But then it's also the relation, they just will continue to do it. So it
Yeah.
never becomes anything more than just that surface level bullshit. And before you
Hmm.
know it, you're not even meeting up anymore. It's like,
Ah,
what are we
yes.
doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the
Yeah.
point of
Because, I
this?
mean, the sexting would probably give you a pretty good dopamine rush as well, right? Because there's, action,
Oh, it is like
reaction. Yeah.
right to the
Yeah.
vein, right
Yeah,
to the
right to the
vein.
vein. Yeah. And like some of the clients that I work with too, like when I know or I'm aware that they are going to be into the dating scene or maybe even going back into a previous relationship, because, in recovery, we're trying to repair all of these
Mm-hmm.
relationships and whatnot. And I will always ask them, what are your non negotiables?
Mm,
Ah, I hear crickets every time. And I'm
mm.
like, well, they're like, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, oh boy. Right?
Yeah, because I'll
Yes.
be honest, I didn't know it either. I didn't know what the non-negotiables are and what it
Mm-hmm.
meant. And I was recently gifted this great idea. You
Mm-hmm.
write a list of what are your must-haves, what are your
Yes.
should-haves, and what are your nice-to-haves. So, an example, a must-have. This person must not be in a relationship with anyone else,
Ah, good
romantic
one.
or
Yes.
married. That's
Yeah.
one that's on my list.
Yes.
Another must-have, this person must be curious about me. That
Mm-hmm.
is a non-negotiable. So, in my opinion, the must-haves all need to be checked in order for
Mm-hmm.
me to make it to the next date. Now, am I
Mm-hmm.
going to know all the must-haves in the first two, three date? No. I got to
Mm-hmm.
about date 4 or 5 and realized that the guy that I'm getting to know, he does have them,
Mm-hmm.
but they're surface level because I don't actually haven't seen this repeat consistently over time. I haven't
Right.
had that much time. But the must-haves, should-haves are like he should have a college degree.
Mm-hmm.
He should be friendly with my friends. He should make an effort to see me every week.
Right.
It's like, and I remember when I then went to go do the
Mm-hmm.
nice to haves was things like it would be nice if he had his own business and a flexible schedule. Now he doesn't have to, but
Mm-hmm.
it would be nice.
Yes.
And I remember putting I didn't put the college degree on there at first.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy who taught it to me said, there's a certain level and he goes, that in therapy, right? If they're both
Mm-hmm.
up there,
Yep.
there's a certain level of intellectual conversation that you can have and or shared experience that you can have, like, oh, I went to study abroad, or oh my God, my friend from college, oh, dorm life,
Mm-hmm.
like, just these different things
Mm-hmm.
that he's like, it's so in on an intellectual and emotional level, there's a connection. Now,
Yes.
do I think that everyone needs to have a college degree in order to date? No, because many of your people that you talk to and who listen to the podcast
Mm-hmm.
don't.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen from personal experience, because I've dated men who haven't have completed high school but have not gone beyond education, be some of the smartest people I've ever met,
Mm-hmm.
and fucking scrappy, man. Like the shit that they come up with and they do,
Mm-hmm.
and either with their hands in terms of what they're
Yep.
building or the way they think about the world. It was just some of
Yep.
the most stimulating conversation ever that I had had, more so than people who had had a college degree. So I'm not
Yes.
saying that I'm
Yep.
using that one as a quick example of a
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiable for me
Yep.
personally, but everybody has their own different ones. But I agree with you. I remember when he
Mm-hmm.
asked me, I was like, fuck, I'm a dating coach and I don't even know this. Like, what are my non-negotiables?
Yeah. Yeah, it's really important. And I really love what you said about that, like with even with the college, degree or whatever. I mean, I love intellectual conversations, so even
Mm,
if they don't have that degree, I mean, at least be either well traveled or well read. Have an
yeah,
interest in different world perspectives,
true.
and it's just not like, oh, this is what I saw on the internet and this is the
Yes.
absolute truth. So I totally understand that, and that's probably one of my my nice to haves too.
Yeah. And I think
Mm-hmm.
too, the concept of like, you know, telling me how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
Most men have been taught to not feel their feelings. You've got anger and you've got
Mm,
happiness. You got
yeah.
no other emotion. And men, I think, also have a core belief that they are not good enough, whereas women's core belief is we
Mm,
are too much. And
yes.
so I think knowing that, I've started to have more compassion for the men that
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting to know. And when I go through the list, I was last year getting to know somebody who didn't had only like 33% of the characteristics I looked, because
Mm-hmm.
I now am aiming for 100. And man, I was making concessions for him, if I'm honest. Oh, but he's so
Mm,
funny. Oh, it's so
yeah.
nice to be in his arms. Or,
Yeah.
and you make these concessions, but I ultimately didn't go back when we ended things because I
Mm-hmm.
realized like I want 100% of these qualities, my
Yeah.
non-negotiables. They're there for a reason. Why? Because I've been through some
Yes.
shit. I've
Yeah.
been through some shit, and I am not willing to go back there again.
Yeah. It's so
It's only
true.
better and better from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and when all of those physiological chemical responses happen in the body and all of that settles, then all of those things that we're making excuses for are going to be what really like fingers on a
Yeah, like you're
chalkboard.
right, like
Yeah.
noticing like his car's not clean. I was like, ugh,
Yeah.
there's so much shit in this car. It's so hard to even
Yeah.
sit in the front seat. You know, you like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I never noticed that. I had been in the car on the first date. I didn't notice.
Mm-hmm.
By like months later, I was like, this is disgusting. I can't do this.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
for sure. And one thing too that you said that I really want to touch on too is like with some of the men, like we only see anger and happiness.
Mm,
And one
yeah.
thing that just came across the to me the other day was there's a huge difference in pleasure and happiness. And I think that
Mm,
there's a lot of people out there that mistake pleasure for happiness, but pleasure is fleeting, right? Like, oh,
yeah.
I bought a brand new watch. 3 months later, I forgot that to even put it
I'm
on.
even wearing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
it's really interesting the difference there too.
yeah, I think happiness, you might have just said this, so forgive me if I'm
Oh, of course. No,
repeating
let's
it, but
dig in.
happiness to me is self-fulfilling and it's also ongoing,
Yes.
where pleasure is it's literally fleeting, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's something that I'm gonna get a quick hit from. So pleasure can be going on a vacation and walking out and seeing this beautiful landscape. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that's pleasure.
Yep.
It's happiness in the sense that I'm happy I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
but it's gonna be fleeting because I'm gonna be gone, and every now and then I might think about that view. But it's
Yes.
the same way in terms of building a relationship with
Mm-hmm.
someone, or the the flirtatious comment that someone makes,
Mm-hmm.
or the porn you might watch, or
Mm-hmm.
the gambling, or whatever you might do to try to make yourself feel happy is, for me trying to seek quote unquote happiness was
Mm-hmm.
actually me seeking pleasure, to
Yes.
a point where I became addicted to it because I kept compulsively doing it again and again and again, thinking I was going to
Yes.
get a different result. But
Yep.
instead, I ended up just feeling worse about myself, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately ended up impacting other people. Not only how they
Yeah.
felt about me, but also at times how they felt about themselves, because
Yes.
I was
No.
just seeking pleasure.
Yeah, that is well said. Exactly. I'm glad we did a bit of a deeper dive on that because it's important
Yeah.
to know the difference,
Yeah. I
especially in
agree.
today's world when everything is this instant gratification.
Jesus on it. It's so true.
So true.
It's,
Yeah.
I hear so many business owners that I'm coaching talk about comparing themselves to other people and what they're seeing on
Ooh,
Instagram,
I'm loving that we're going to go
right?
down this road. Yes. Hmm.
And I asked them, if in 6 months from now we're coaching together, like, what are we celebrating? What are you happy about? And it's reminding them that, so many people, they will shame themselves because they're not being quote unquote productive,
Hmm.
aka they're not as far along as they want to be. And it's like, I always say to them, I'm like, we have to know where your North Star is. What are the goals?
Yes.
It's not just be happy, it's not just
Hmm.
be organized. What does that actually mean? What is the concrete thing that
Hmm.
is going to happen in your life that's going to make you happy?
Yeah.
Not like I'll be happy when. It's like I'm going to be happy now so that when that
Yes.
thing comes, I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, this was amazing.
Yeah.
And so many of my clients, a big part of the work that we do is,
Hmm.
how can you let go of the judgment and shame that you are placing on yourself, and
Mm.
feeling guilty for not getting back to that person because you were
Yeah.
paralyzed in overwhelm and
Hmm.
overcoming it. But really underneath it,
Yeah.
it's the feeling of not feeling good enough.
Hmm.
And for some people, it's also the feeling of being too much, especially
Hmm.
when they're trying to show up on social media to talk about their
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. Yeah. And one thing I heard you mention, Katie, was the whys. And a lot of
Yeah.
the times when I work with clients and I ask them about their whys or their North Stars, they always say, well, I want to be a better husband. I want to be a better wife. I want to be the best mom, or a
Mm,
better boss. And I'm like, yes, okay, that's really important. But now we're looking at external validation again.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's really hard to get into that alignment with your true purpose, true happiness without all of, and I mean, that's important. Don't get me wrong. All of that is very important. But it's like that old adage that you need to serve from the saucer when your cup is overflowing, or otherwise the
Yeah.
cup will empty. And it's so true.
Well, and the question I always ask people is when they say they want to be a better mom or a better dad or
Mm,
better husband, et cetera, is so what does that mean to you?
yeah.
How are you going to know when you become a better dad? Like, what does that look like? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to be off my phone when my kid asks me to play with him.
Ah.
Okay, check.
Hmm.
We could do that.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to be a better husband because when my wife is telling me how she feels and she's angry
Mm.
with me, I'm going to be curious about where that anger's coming from. Oh, okay. You trying to have more sex while you're at it? Because that'll work. Like
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah. Hmm.
it is this ability to be like your why. Like, okay,
Hmm.
I want that, but that's surface level, and that's also external validation. Let's go
Yeah.
one more level deeper. What is meaningful to you, so
Hmm.
that when you do become that, you know exactly how to do
Yeah.
it and what made you feel good on the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, going back to the comparisons part, because that's so important, I think,
Mm.
nowadays, especially if you are a content creator, it is so hard not to get into the comparison. I mean, I'll be totally transparent. I used to look at some of your content and go, oh, I'm not there yet, and get into this
Yeah, I get that.
overwhelm. Yeah. So,
Oh,
like, even,
same.
yeah. Okay. So, like, yeah. So, can you share on your own journey how that affected you and what did you do about it?
Absolutely. I'll share the before and then I'll share where I am now
Mm-hmm.
because it's slightly different, but
Yes,
it's not that
please.
different. Um, I used to have to unfollow people
Oh,
um
yes,
and mute their
guilty.
stuff, not because I didn't like them, but because they were
Mm-hmm.
triggering me in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And that trigger usually was I want what they have, I'm not where I want to be, what
Yeah.
more do I need to do? It was that toxic masculinity of just shaming and bullying myself, but then
Mm-hmm.
also the toxic femininity of woe is me, like
Mm-hmm.
how come she gets to do it and I don't? Like what the heck?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm her business coach. She's having all this success. How come I'm not? Like, but
Mm-hmm.
even before that and knowing what I know now in terms of this, it's like I would unfollow people. I would talk about it with other people. I would kind of blame and shame, like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
did you see so and so's post? Like, that bullshit where you're gossiping.
Yeah.
I stopped doing that. And then when I had those moments where I was triggered um and seeing, oh, that was such a great post. Well, then the next voice was, well, why didn't you think of that? But if you do it, is that
Mm-hmm.
person going to think you're copying them? And like these voices.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, also the comparison, like I'm her goddamn business coach and I don't even have as many
Yeah.
followers or success as that person's having.
Mm-hmm.
And instead hiring that person.
Oh.
So like that person that triggered me, I hired her and said,
Mm-hmm.
can you teach me how to message? So I was about to teach me how to Dougie, teach. Yeah, I literally was like, can you teach me how you are doing your messaging?
Mm-hmm.
I taught you how to run your business, but
Yeah.
this is a component that just comes so effortless to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but there are still people now and again who trigger me, or I just think to myself, I'm comparing myself to you. And then there's other people where I'm like, thank you for being the proof that I want does
Mm-hmm.
exist. And so I've really tried to change that messaging to, okay, I'm going to unfollow because I'm not there yet where I'm looking at your post as
Mm-hmm.
it's proof that what I want does exist. And then
Mm-hmm.
last but not least, yes, I have a lot of followers, and that came organically from
Mm-hmm.
one post that I did, and then
Yeah.
became two, and then I reposted it a few times because I was like, this thing's taking off.
Mm-hmm.
It came organically, but I will say that if I compare my account to my clients
Mm-hmm.
or yours, for example, you
Mm-hmm.
get way more engagement, way more comments, way more views.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't on the back end, we cannot for the fucking life of us figure out what is going on with our Instagram. We're like, I've got a
Yes.
team on it. We're
Mm-hmm.
like, what is happening? And instead, I just decided to say, fuck it.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm just gonna post. And I don't give a fuck like how many people like it or comment, but I do
Mm-hmm.
notice this thing.
Yeah.
When I am just myself and I have this like fuck it attitude,
Mm. Mhm.
the the crowd goes wild. Like I posted something the other day that
Mhm.
was like a picture of me in a red suit because I just had a branding shot and I was like,
Mhm.
please please hold all my calls. Like just being like sarcastic, right? Because I
Mm-hmm.
just looked like a fucking boss in the photo.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I explained a little bit about what it was going on. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
a branding shoot, and
Yeah.
I weaved in the business
Yeah.
coaching a little bit, but I kept it short, sweet, and so crowd went wild.
I love
And
it.
it
Yeah.
hit me. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
the more I don't overthink this shit,
Mm-hmm.
the more people will jive with me because of my authenticity.
Ah, you
Because
said it.
I'm just
Authenticity.
trying to,
Yep.
yeah, I'm just trying to be me. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
also trying to be of service, but I'm
Yeah.
also trying to make some cash while I'm at it,
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so there's that interesting dichotomy of thinking that the money comes from the posts. And sure, I've
Mm-hmm.
signed up my account so Facebook does pay me, but in
Yep.
reality, I personally think that when I have more fun with it and I'm way more
Mm-hmm.
casual with it, clients just naturally come or people start
Yeah.
engaging more with my content. And
Yeah.
I'm
I
cracking
really love
myself
that.
up in the meantime.
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love that because that was actually one of my questions too, with the comparison stuff is like
Mm,
the collaboration and community. And you said it. I reached out to that person and I hired them now to teach me, even though I'm her business coach. But hey, how are you doing that? Because the success leave clues, you
yeah,
know?
it really
And
does. And
yeah,
oh, go ahead. No, please
oh no,
finish
I
what you were
was
going
just
to say.
gonna say what I can't remember who taught me this, if it was you or maybe Kaylor. I can't remember, but it was like the I want to say the 10-10-10 rule, where it was like 10
Yeah, it might
minutes
have
of
been
a
Kayla.
post. Yeah,
Yeah.
10 minutes of a post, 10 minutes of like, comment, sharing, and then 10 minutes of like returning messages or comments that
Mm,
are on your post. And that, like reaching out to community and collaborating, has landed me most of my guests because I've
yeah.
liked, comment, and shared some of their content rather than getting into comparison. I'm like, hey, this is my niche. This is what I love. I'm going to share this. And then boom, they
Mm.
reach out to me and now they're a guest. So it's
That's
just,
incredible.
yeah, collaboration.
It really does. And we're having fun in the meantime, right? Because
I love
yeah,
it.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and by the way, thanks for being so honest about that. Some of the stuff I was writing was triggering you because it is for me, I have the same experience. It's like this edge that we're up
Mm-hmm.
against because
Yeah.
I think of it now as a good thing. Like I'm like, oh, she triggered me because I really love what I do and it means a lot to me. And I want to be
Yeah.
able to help more people. And fuck, that was such
Mm-hmm.
a creative idea. And she got so
Yeah.
much love from it. And it's
Yeah.
not wanting that validation, but sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
is, And like I
Yes.
gotta
Yeah.
own that and see
Yeah.
where it's happening for me. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that because
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, when I then step outside of the
Mm-hmm.
wanting to be liked,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, like verbally and also through
Yeah.
being liked on Instagram,
Yeah.
it really does come down to the people that I'm supporting. It's that community
Mm-hmm.
and who can I put on the podcast to talk about their story and share about their business like you're doing
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
um who can I just be of service to?
Yes.
So it's a good reminder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really like that piece that you said too about the authenticity, because I think that when
Yeah.
we're in alignment with our true values and our true goals, we'll never really be stuck in that wondering if we're enough. Because when you're in
Yeah.
alignment, you just know, because like manifestation happens, things
Yeah.
gravitate towards you and everything just sort of falls into place, you know?
I love when those moments come. They're coming more
Mm-hmm.
frequently. But to the person who's listening that's like fucking
Yeah.
struggling over here, just know that like I have that too. Like I have those
Yeah.
days where I'm like, well, what like where's the next dollar coming from? Or,
Yeah.
should I have done that post? Like just kind of in my head about it. But then I remember what you just said, which is, okay, I am going to attract the kind of energy that I'm putting out. So instead of just wiping the slate clean and being like, come on, stop thinking about this, I then take a step right before that. That's
Mm-hmm.
like, who's talking? Like, which
Mm.
part of me is talking? Is this
Yeah.
this happened last night? I got fucking triggered so bad last night, unrelated to work, but
Mm-hmm.
personal. I felt unsafe
Mm.
emotionally. I was like overly sexualized, like in a 12-step meeting, which
Oh
is
no.
the opposite of what it should be. And I
Mm-hmm.
found myself fucking livid, Rhonda. I walked out of that
Mm.
meeting and I was like fired the fuck up. And I was like, I will take anyone down. Like I needed to sit in my car for a little
Yeah.
bit so I could cool
Mm-hmm.
off so that when I drove, I wasn't road raging. Uh,
Yes.
And so I say all that
Mm-hmm.
because I then was like, am I sad? And then all of a sudden I went,
Mm.
yeah. And then I was like, that's not really anger, it's sadness. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And then you're like, the hurt part was like, we're hurt. Hurt's in a way of feeling. You're feeling hurt. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm hurt and sad, but my mask is anger.
Ah,
So I'm in the
yes.
car and I'm trying to like
Mm-hmm.
scream and get it out, and that's not helping. So I'm like, all right, stop, order food, right? Because I know I'm like, I know if I keep going here, I'm not going to be
Mm-hmm.
able to get what I need. So I'm not
Mm.
going to eat enough food, which I did. I lost my appetite, but like at least I had a
Yep.
little something in my belly.
Mm-hmm.
But I found myself in those moments going, okay, so what part is this? Who's talking? And don't you
Yes.
know, like an image of me in middle school having
Mm-hmm.
boobs for the first time and like wearing a shirt that was really
Mm.
beautiful and being made fun of and pointed
Mm-hmm.
at, and oh, and then wanting to cover up and wear a turtleneck. And like
Yeah.
one of my neighbors, he's a guy, we have a funny relationship, like a good relationship. We can be silly
Yep.
with each other. He's like, I never even knew you had great boobs. Like, what are we, you're always covered up. And I
Yeah.
thought to myself, like, it's because of those younger parts that are
Mm-hmm.
super triggered that I find myself in those moments when I'm trying to attract what I really want in my life,
Mm.
that sometimes I can't just push it away and go, come on, just think a different thought. I have to be like, who's talking? And that's
Mm-hmm.
why last night when I got so fired up, I was like, who is talking? And then I was asked the question, has this happened before?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, no, I don't think it's 20
Yep.
20 images came up of 20 different
Yes.
scenarios. And I was like, holy shit, this has come up before. That's
Yes.
where the anger is. And,
Yep.
in that moment, I was able to be like, all right, I know this will pass.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm going to get grounded. I know what I'm going to say when I get to the meeting next week. And I got my team around me to support me.
Yeah.
And I know that there's other options. If I can't get what I want, which is to go to this meeting, then I'll start
Mm-hmm.
my own. That's fine. But I say all that because when I've
Mm-hmm.
had those moments too of driving in the car where you're like, I'm manifesting like my best life, and when I'm in flow, it feels so
Mm-hmm.
good. And then every now and then that little part in my brain will be like, oh shit, when's it gonna end? Like, when are we gonna
Yeah.
go back? And
Yeah.
that's a reminder for me that I'm human, that I'm gonna have
Mm-hmm.
those moments where
Yeah.
I'm in flow and I'm excited about where my life is and I'm
Yeah.
happy. And then there's going to be the moments where I worry if the rug is going to be pulled out from underneath me. And then
Yeah.
there's the
Mm-hmm.
moments where it's really tough.
Yeah.
And I remember, oh yeah, but I've been in flow and happy. I'm going to get there.
Yeah.
I'm having a moment. And
Yeah. Oh man,
it used
thanks
to
for
be longer.
sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and that's the thing. That's why I admire your content so much because
Mm.
there's such an element of classiness.
Oh,
And yeah, and the thing is, and like even like talking about being in flow, right? Like into that divine feminine energy. This is something that I actually need to work on a little bit more because I'm very much in
mm,
my masculine energy. But
mm.
I can get super triggered by content creators that are over sexualized, and they
Me
have,
too.
okay, not just
Oh, it
me
drives
then.
me fucking nuts.
I'm just,
Nuts.
and their content is good. I get that. But then I look at their following and I'm like, you've got like, 500,000 followers and all I see is boobs.
Yeah.
And I get
Yeah.
so triggered by that. And then I'm like, wait a second. Is it just because I'm like fighting the feminine in myself or what's going on?
Oh, I'm so glad you're bringing this up because I can't tell you how many times when I've seen someone sexualize themselves. So in
Mhm.
men and women, by the way, like
Yes, that's
I've
true.
seen men
Yes.
do it and I'm like, I immediately will go over to their followers and who they're following, and I'm like, oh, he's gay. Okay. Like, and it helps a little bit because I'm like, I don't know a
That's,
straight man that would put this much
ah,
energy and effort into
yeah.
A, looking this good, but also like to be this sexualized,
Hmm.
like they've got a sock in their pants or like some, like they're
Mm-hmm.
doing a dick shot or something, or and you're like, what is, first of all, why is this in my algorithm? And second of all, what's going on?
Why
But then
is this in my
also,
algorithm?
right. And then also, but yeah, like I can't get my own content to be in the fucking algorithm, but
Right? Yeah,
you've
yeah,
got,
yeah.
Fred over here for like from Provincetown popping up on mine. Like this math ain't
Hilarious.
mathing, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, but for women, I find myself as well being like, I'm trying to do the quote unquote right thing here
Mm-hmm.
by not showing my ass and shaking it and like showing my boobs. And
Yeah.
that's fine. I think it's beautiful, but I also think there's a time and a place for that.
Yeah.
Like I do that in dance class. I do
Mm-hmm.
that when I'm with my partner. Like I do that in certain situations, but I'm with you. Like I very much am in my masculine most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really nice and it's been a practice to do it in dating, to be more in my feminine while also trying to do it with my content because I'm with you, man. It triggers the fuck out of me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's really, I'm glad that you shared that, Katie, because I thought that maybe there was something wrong with me and that I needed
I'm
to
with you.
look at this in a different lens. But I don't know. I've just worked so hard to try to establish a brand or a business, without being over sexualized. And I
Yeah.
just, and like you said, like I'm not even in the algorithm, but so and so's got 500,000 followers and ridiculous amounts of comments. But I do go to the comment section,
Yeah, I do
and
too.
I'm just like, "Oh my god, like how inappropriate can we get?" And
Wild.
it's wild, and I don't know. I think that our society now is almost a hint of narcissism. And like you said earlier, that does get thrown around a lot, but I do believe studies have shown that there is a bit of an increase of this happening.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I think of it when I see it is that it's attention seeking, right? That
Mhm.
they're seeking validation, which you're right. Part of the characteristics of narcissism is very much having low self-esteem.
Yeah.
So making yourself be perceived to be better than others,
Mhm.
or that others will perceive you as better.
Yeah.
Um, and so when it happens and I see, the naked body or half naked body, I think to myself, like, why are you trying to seek this validation?
Mm.
Because for
Yeah.
me, I'm not doing that, but I am trying to help people. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
I think there's always going to be that kind of like good and evil. And I'm not saying it's evil to do that. I just mean like when I'm
Mhm.
faced with that trigger, I'm like, you know what? I got to stay on the healthy path of moral and
Mhm.
value, which to me, that my body is reserved for my partner and being at the beach. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and not sexualizing myself in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
and not posting content to seek validation. So I've often asked myself, like, even if like my boobs are in the shot, I'll bring the caption box down to try to cover
Oh,
it as much as I
yes. Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I just find that, there's little or I'll
Mhm.
re-record and just try to bring the
Yep.
camera up a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I like
But
that.
yeah.
It's interesting because even when I was online dating, sometimes I
Mhm.
would do a reverse search just to see what men were looking at. Have you ever done that?
I have. I've looked at their
Yeah.
accounts to be like, who are they following?
Yeah. And
A lot
and
of
even some
OnlyFans
of my,
accounts?
right? And even some of the clients that I have now too, I'll see like who are they following and who's following them. And so I always do a little bit of research on that. And what
Mm,
I found is like a lot of the pictures that they're posting, like they may as well be doing covers of pornography. Like I'm just
yeah.
where did this happen? Where was the shift in humanity where now it's just a free for all? Like I don't remember being like this as a teenager.
I've I've wondered too if the sexuality or the overly sexual
Mhm.
community that we have right now is because we were repressed for so long. Like the
Mm.
generational,
Yeah.
if you think about it, like our mothers and our grandmothers, like, they were, and even across the world, right?
Yeah.
Women have been down upon, gay men, etc.
Mhm.
So I found myself wondering if maybe it's almost like this fuck it
Yeah.
attitude of like
Mhm.
I've suppressed my sexuality and my sensuality, and
Mhm.
I'm just going to do it. But in the same breath, I think everyone's intentions are different. I mean, of course, some of the people
Mhm.
we're talking about might have this sort of like, no, I don't
Yeah.
have that. I'm not doing it for the likes, and it's like, okay, maybe not. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a part of my brand. That's what I
Yeah.
would say.
Which I really appreciate about you. Like, I think that's amazing. And for me, like, kind of what kind of where my thoughts are is like, just like with social media, the music industry, I think
Hmm.
that women, like, starting from like, Christina Aguilera and Britney
And
Spears, and
Brittany, yeah.
yeah, they were very highly sexualized. And I think that now our young adolescent females are looking up to that. So that's who they
Mm,
want to be and who they want to represent. And even though this might sound a little bit off topic, but even like the increasing violence within young adolescent males, like
mm.
a lot of like experts in this field basically said that like the violent video games like Grand Theft Auto
Oh
and
shit, yeah. Oh my God.
yeah, that it's like what they're calling is a virtual rehearsal. So I guess we could look
Yeah,
at it in the same box, with the over sexualization too.
absolutely. With the violence as well. That's a
Hmm.
really good point. And I think both kind of lend itself to, like, when I think of video games, I think of my little
Hmm.
cousins playing it and not
Hmm.
being able to be present and like have conversations and communication. Um, but yeah, I know we're getting off a little off. I don't mean to get off topic, but yeah,
No,
I feel
that's
like
okay.
it's
Hmm.
um it's something that I make sure that who I'm bringing on, I can
Hmm.
get behind their brand. Like, I
Yeah.
won't take a client on or have a guest on the podcast unless I can really get behind what they're
Hmm.
quote unquote selling.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it is a little bit off topic, but it's just like talking about that over sexualization. It's like, where did that start?
So need
Because
this conversation.
yeah, since the internet and social media even started, we've seen a huge spike in anxiety and ADHD, self-harm, suicide, right?
Mm.
So again, a lot of the young adults, the adolescents are in that comparison. So,
Yeah, and
it's very important.
you bring up a good point too. It's like there might be somebody listening who's wanting to start a business or has
Mhm.
been starting a business and being overtly sexual, and just, I would just caution you to say
Uh,
two things. Number one, is that on brand right now, and is it on brand for the
mhm.
future life that you're gonna have or you want to have?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
all.
Yeah. So how are we doing for time, Katie?
I don't know, what time is it?
Well, it's we've been recording for an hour and 15, and you did
Oh yeah,
say, so we're
yeah.
still good.
We'll
Yeah,
probably
because
wrap. Yeah,
yeah, because I definitely want to just kind of touch on like where are you now in your journey? What are like let the
let's do
viewers
it.
know, how to find you and what are you
Oh, I would
offering
love
at this
that.
time? Yeah.
Yeah. So if you are growing a business,
Hmm.
you can come on in and apply to coaching. So the best way to do that is you can head over to kg.katiegrimes on Instagram. You can also head over to the website. We'll put this all in the show notes, but
Of
katiegrimes.com.
course.
There are applications there. That's the best advice that I can give you in terms of like
Hmm.
what coaching is available, because when I
Hmm.
see the answers to your questions, I'm going to be able to be like, oh, no, 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 no. Don't waste your money with private coaching. Just take this
Hmm.
course. Or I'll tell you, oh no, based on what you're doing, I got to dig in. And the best way that I
Hmm.
can do that is by XYZ. So that would be the first thing. And then to come on over to the podcast, that's where I am sharing, tips on how to have healthy communication, whether in relationship or not. I'm talking about finding your purpose. I'm talking about the growing pains of growing a business. And I'm really on this trend right now of scaling smarter. What are the things that
Hmm.
I can be doing to scale my business so I'm not trading time for money, while also still having very much that personal touch that I absolutely love to
Yeah.
do, and teaching other business owners how to do that as well. Like,
Yeah.
how can I scale smarter, keep the routines, keep my wellness plan in check,
Hmm.
and my own health and well-being, while also scaling my business so that I can work less, be home with the family, or travel, or whatever the hell I want
Hmm.
to do. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Work smarter, not harder.
Work
Okay.
smarter, not harder, girl. That's what I'm
Yeah.
all about.
Yeah. All right. So let's just go back in time, though. If you could
Sure.
go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, even after what you know now, what would it be?
Other people's opinion about you doesn't mean anything about you.
Ah, I love that. That
Mm.
landed. That landed right
That
here.
landed here. That
Yeah.
landed here. My little kids were like, "Yep,
Yeah. Yeah,
preach."
so true. So true. Because then that whole imposter syndrome and in comparison, it
Yeah,
just, yeah, it really lies with your true, authentic self. Get in alignment with that.
so
Find
true.
out who you are.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
the best thing I ever did. That and growing the
Awesome.
business.
Yeah. Thank you, Katie. I really appreciate your time today. I was really
Thank you,
looking forward
Rhonda.
to this. Yeah. And just one question. Is that an American flag in the background in the window?
It is. Yeah,
Yeah,
can you see it? Here.
I can barely see it. Like it almost looks like there's just like a deviation in the video, like in the
Yeah.
stream,
No,
but
it's
it's
a
the
there's a
flag.
massive, yeah, it's a massive American flag. One
I
of my
love
friends
it.
from the UK was like visiting and he was like, I've never
Mm.
seen so many American flags like in my life. I was like, we're very
Yeah.
proud to be Americans around here.
Yeah. You know what? Like not to go down the political side of anything, but I would not be upset if Canada was the 51st state.
Come on in. We'd be
Yeah.
glad to have you guys. You're all so
Uh,
kind. We could use your fucking kindness in America. That is
I
for
love it.
sure.
I
That's
love
my
it. And
favorite thing about
uh,
Canadians because that's your core value
yeah.
is to be kind to each other. And
Yeah.
I think that would be a
We're
beautiful
almost
thing.
a little bit too laid back, right?